How did you sleep? How did you sleep last night on your blow-up mattress?
Well, now that I've remembered my blow-up mattress.
Did you sleep better this time than you did last time?
I slept fine both times.
Okay.
Except I think I should have switched to the bottom end of the bed because this mattress has like a bump where your pillow goes.
Yeah.
And it raises your neck height to like...
So it's basically designed for no pillow, almost.
Well, it should be, but I'm one of those people... Do you sleep with one pillow or two?
So I sleep with one under my head, obviously, and then I'll cuddle and spoon another pillow. So I have two. I'm a two-pillow man, but one is only one is under my head, and then I've got my arm round the second.
So
pillow.
you're a one-pillow person, basically.
Well, it's two.
I'm talking about for your head.
One.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So one, same. Whereas when my pillow goes on this mattress bump, it makes it like two pillows, and so I just feel like that.
Do you like a really thick pillow? Or do you like a soft, squidgy pillow?
Basically, my entire life growing up, I was like a really thin pillow. You'd think
just
that like my family didn't love me,
one
kind of thing.
Pillow.
Yeah. And I have like a thick one now.
Yeah, but it's squishy.
It's fairly squishy.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
we invested in some good pillows and duvets and stuff like recently, and sleep so much better.
Oh yeah, I ended up getting a 16 tog quilt.
That's hot.
Yeah, that's like thick.
Bro, that's
thick
Arctic
with 3
conditions.
C's, mate. Yeah, and but it just feels good. You know, when the quilt's heavy and you feel like,
it's like a weighted blanket. You know, they're really good for anxiety and stuff. And
I'm down.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm so chilled.
Yeah,
in my life,
a heavy blanket is meant to be really good because it's meant to emulate
blanket. It's a quilt.
Yeah, weighted blanket.
Like duvet.
I know, but you can get weighted blankets that people with anxiety use, and you put them on you, and like you instantly feel calm and relaxed. It's almost like imagine it almost emulates like a hug. Like it's very like. Yeah, I've never used one. I know a couple of people that have had them, and apparently they say they're great. So,
however, our affiliate link will be in the show notes below.
Yeah, we don't have an affiliate.
No, we don't.
We need to sort out some affiliate links. So leave me to that. It's my department.
Oh god. Well, it's not because I used to YouTube and I used to have affiliate links.
All right, big man.
So.
All right,
but I'll leave you to it.
I've got affiliate links in my Instagram bio though.
Oh good, yeah, you can do it then. It's fine.
I've got some Amazon affiliate links.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
Matt. Anyway,
we spoke about our pillows.
Anywho, today's topic. Today's episode. It's kind of going to be a bit of a back and forth, but today's topic is essentially 7 rookie errors that creatives make in our industry. Now, I kind of want to go at this at more of a 7 rookie errors creatives make in terms of like if you're starting out, but I'm sure some of these errors people still make even if they've been in the industry for 5 years.
We even
whatever.
Still make.
Yeah, we even still make ourselves. So 7 rookie errors that creatives make in the industry. Okay, so number 1 is undervaluing themselves. So, you know, whether that's either charging too little just to get work or not understanding the true cost of like running a creative business and the time it takes for a person to do that. So, undervaluing themselves. What do you think? I think when you say undervaluing yourself, you instantly think, oh, I'm not charging enough for my shoots. With the hat on that you've just started out, I would almost argue that you're going to be charging lower or doing stuff for free in order to build a portfolio. But I think even when you first start, you can still and should be still getting, 100, 200 quid for a job at least.
Yeah.
Because it's still time that, it's still, even if you've jumped into the freelance world.
Is that shooting though, or is that shooting and editing images? So
I'm obviously coming at it from a photography standpoint.
Yeah, but I mean, is it the full thing where you're delivering images, or is it like just for a shoot day?
Yeah, no, that's kind of, I'll give a fee and it's all encompassed into one. So that's like the project fee. But it's funny, I actually was going through, I found all my old invoices the other day and all my old emails. So
I've been there.
Yeah. I found all my first emails and I was screenshotting a load of them and sending them to Yaz, and she was just like laughing. And all the kind of drama I went through when I first started, because I had a little bit of an issue with someone that was giving me work, and they paid me £275 for like 6 or 7 shoots for that month. And she was like, oh, but you need to be paid like an intern because you're fresh out of uni and you should be on an intern salary, even though it was like my full-time job and I had to make a living from it and had to eat and survive. And I was living in London. So, and I look back and I'm just like, wow. And also, I'm not going to say who this is or anything like that. But what blew Yaz's mind is I went back to one of the old emails, and the way she addressed me in an email, I emailed her with a bunch of like adjustments and amendments and stuff. and she replied saying, "Hello, human." That's how she addressed me in
What
the
the
email.
hell? That's
"Hello,
so
human,"
weird.
and then like gave me like the feedback below. Like she called me human, not my name, even though she knew my name. And and Yaz saw it and she was like gobsmacked. She was like, "How like condescending and how like I can't even remember. I don't even know what the word to describe that. Just disrespectful.
Yeah.
It is to be like human. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Like,
is this an agency?
no, this is a person that I've got a relationship with. Like that I.
But they're not from an agency or something like that.
No, they've got their own like small agency or whatever.
Yeah,
however
yeah.
you
So
want to
they should be
describe it.
conducting themselves.
Well, yeah, but
an
like
actual
also know
person.
them as a like. But they could
Yeah.
like instead of you can't even address me by my name. It's like, "Hello, human. Can you do this, 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 and this?"
Yeah.
And I know this is a bit of a side tangent, but anyway, I was going through my old emails and I found a lot of my old invoices. And my first invoices were 50 quid,
Yeah.
you know, £100,
yeah.
£75, £50, £50, £50. And even for people that I was doing shoots with, like my mate Elliot, like he's a mate, and yes, it was helping my portfolio, but I was still like doing them for like 50 quid, 100 quid plus, because like, yes, I was new to it, but you can still get paid something. Do you know what I mean? And even if it's just like covering your costs or whatever it is. And I think when you're first starting out, you might think, "Oh, I have to do everything for free." But you've also, if you're jumping into this and you've got to earn a living from it, you can still be getting £150, £200 for a shoot, especially like nowadays when everything's more expensive compared to how it was 7 years ago. So don't think that you have to do everything for free. We've spoken about it on the show before about evaluating opportunity cost. I'll do a shoot for free if there's more pros than cons, and you can write out that list and weigh it up. In my opinion, this is just my opinion. But if someone's coming to you and asking for you to do a shoot, you can still go to them and say, especially when you're starting out, "Okay, that's £200," and they might say, "I've only got 125," and you're like, "Cool, like I'm happy to do it for that on this occasion." Do you know what I mean? So I think it might be a bit of a rookie error. Everyone starting out thinks that they have to do it all for free, but if you can get some money for it, try to. And if you don't ask, you don't get. So how will you ever know?
Do you also think it's because £200 sounds like a lot of money if you've never charged that before or something like that, and you think that,
and you're also unaware of what everyone else is charging.
Yeah, and you're also unaware of like what like £200 should be like. Oh yeah, I should already be good at what I'm doing and stuff like that to be doing that. So like, realistically, no. Like I think you think, oh, the bare minimum because I'm new, I should be doing stuff for free or really cheap. It's like, no, because you are new, you should be getting 200 quid.
Yeah.
Like the minimum starts at £200, especially in like today as well. Especially
really good photographers are like their day rates can range from like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grand a day.
Yeah.
Just to give you some idea.
Yeah.
So there's good photographers out there charging 3, 4 grand a day plus usage on top.
Yeah.
So you doing the shoot for 150 quid, 200 quid, and you're starting out, like it's, compared to what a good photographer is on, like it's, wildly different. So
you do have more problems with people, like as you said, where you've been addressed as a human. Like those things typically come from people that aren't paying a lot of money for something, and it just brings out those people. Like it makes me think of again Nabil, because he's been doing stuff fairly new for the last year and stuff, and he's having his first experiences with charging cheaper, the types of clients he's working with, and he's come across some problems that just would never happen to me and you, because your price also keeps out the lower quality kind of people and the people who do think like that. And
for those listening, we are actually getting someone that I mentored and who's a friend of mine, Jono. We're going to get him on the show. So he's a photographer up in Newcastle, and basically he jumped into the freelance world last year, and I've been mentoring him. He's done really, really well. Did a few mentor sessions with him, but his photo got awarded for the portrait of Britain or whatever, and it was on billboards around London, which is sick. But we're going to get him on to discuss with him what it's been like jumping into the freelance world and some of the obstacles he's faced. But I'm almost now thinking, do we get Nabil and Jono on?
I would love to get,
and we do a 4-way conversation. Nabil from the video side, Jono from the photography side, and just chew the fat.
I think it would be amazing.
That'd be a great idea. So let's make that happen.
Okay. Yeah.
But we always bring up Nabil. Nabil is someone that actually edits our socials for us and is a friend of Cameron's, a friend of ours, and lovely guy. But he's just jumped into the video world. Jono's just jumped into the photo world. Let's have a big conversation,
so
and I think it would be really fun. So let's park that idea, but let's make that happen. Let's make that happen.
So the original question though, so undervaluing yourself, again, like we mentioned that it's not only because of cost and price, but I think even like your confidence and how good your work is. And I think, again, like I always say this to people, that in like Hollywood and the photo industry and the video industry, there's like this notion that because that work is really good, it must have been done like in a way that you aren't good enough to do yet. And then when you actually get to that level, you realize that the way you're shooting now and shooting that stuff is kind of the same way. The fundamentals are the same. Like you're still sat at your laptop editing on probably the same software you was editing on 6 years ago. Like it's just like you get there and you realize that, oh, like I probably could have just, and that's why you can look back as well at the beginning and say, we should have been charging more. And it's like, because there's no difference realistically except for experience.
Also, you don't know what you don't know. And you've kind of got to put yourself out there and just run through it to learn it all and make the mistakes to learn it. And obviously you can listen to stuff like this to help you, you know, and we share our experiences in order to help you prevent making mistakes and stuff, or the mistakes we made. But you've also just got to get stuck in, haven't you? Again,
I've mentioned it every episode. I love mentioning it. 3D. And what I've been going off is that a lot of progress isn't on the hiccups or like not knowing how to do stuff, but progress is knowing what not to do next time. And I think that's what you learn when you're first starting is, I'm not going to tell the client next time that I'm going to have it to him within 24 hours because I nearly died. Like you stop doing stuff like that unless it's specific. And so
okay,
experience.
Let's move on to point number 2. So point number 2 is not focusing on building a portfolio. So, you know, failing to create a strong, diverse portfolio from the start, depending on what you're trying to do, or taking on low quality projects that don't reflect like your best work. So I think building a portfolio out is such a high priority when you're starting out. And I always say, shoot what you want to get hired for, shoot what you want to get hired for. But for the people that aren't even that point yet and they don't know what they want to get hired for, I always say, shoot as much as you can, shoot a wide variety of stuff, and you'll very quickly start to learn, and we've said it on previous episodes, what you do like and what you don't like. Once you know what you do like, you can really start focusing on fleshing out that portfolio in that area. If I want to shoot engagements and like weddings or whatever, then I know that I'm going to try and shoot 20 different couples that have just got engaged in 20 different environments. And before you know it, you've got a really strong, diverse portfolio in different locations and different lighting setups, in studio, out on location, in a nice forest, on a stately home ground, like all of these different things. And then you're really building that portfolio out. And that might be free shoots or just making it happen. But again, the opportunity cost is your portfolio is growing and it's getting stronger and stronger the more you shoot and the more you do within that realm.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
I do think that you need to have very select pieces on your portfolio, though, in a sense of on your website, if you're on your portfolio page, you don't want to see 50 different pieces of work or 10. You want to see like 5 or like 6 or maybe even less, depending on...
What I've been doing recently, and I'm in the process at the moment of redesigning my website after some conversations I had with art directors, creative directors that have been in the game much longer than I have. If you go on my website now, the first 3 pages of the editorial section is 2 shots from each project. So it's like almost like a wider and then a detail. And then you swipe and then it's a different shoot, but then it's another wide and it's like another shot that complements it quite well. And I think that's a good way of going about it. So it's like your top 2 images from each shoot.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more like project based.
Yeah, so like you'll swipe and it's like your strongest 2 images from each shoot. I see a lot of websites for people that have started out that will post like there's like 10 images from one shoot and 3 of them might be great, and I'm like, these are your stronger images, but the other 7 aren't, and they really bring the value down. I know we spoke about it when Will Fortescue was on the website, on the show, and he spoke about how you could have 3 really strong images, but the other 5 really bring them down. It's about knowing and having an eye for what works and what your strongest images are.
Well, that can be difficult as well, especially if you're
out,
connected to this work. You think that you want to include all of it, but it's completely backwards, because if you include all of it, it's actually going to have a worse effect.
And it's also so interesting because there's been some people that I've mentored and I've been like, that one, and that one, those 3 are your strongest images. And they're like, huh?
Yeah.
But I've also had it before where I've had mentors and people that have looked at my website and I'm like, shred it apart. And they're like, that one and that one and that one's the best image. And I'm like, what? That one? Yeah. You would put that one in my website. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, really? Oh, okay. And obviously this is the problem with art, right? It's completely subjective. So you almost don't every opinion's different. You don't know what's right or wrong. There kind of isn't a right or wrong. But in your head, you're so stuck in your ways, and you probably spent so much time and effort making that shot work or that shoot. So you've got an attachment to it. Whereas where as a non-biased opinion comes in from the side and says, nah, that's better than that. And I think that's a really great commercial shot, or that's a really great editorial shot. But you just don't see it like that. So I think it's good to get second opinions, but they're not the be-all and end-all. Your opinion also isn't the be-all and end-all, and it's not gospel. It's good to get a variety of...
Yeah, but it's worth probably getting an opinion from someone who knows what people look for in the industry. Like I think when someone was looking at your work, they were more experienced than me.
She was a creative director, has been for 20 years within the space, and she's worked with some big brands and big photographers. So I sat with her to get her opinion, and she pulled out loads of stuff from my portfolio and my Instagram that's like buried at the bottom, stuff I've archived. And she's like, why the hell is that not on your editorial section on your website? And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, like that's you, that's your eye, that's your style. And I was just like, and it made me completely rethink about the way I do my website.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know we've gone on a little tangent there, but you know, focus on fleshing out your portfolio. And once you've got a great body of work, you can start curating it and, you know, putting it together in a really nice way and taking the two strongest images from each shoot and that work together nicely side by side. And it flows better when someone's looking through your website and all these things.
Yeah, I think that something comes to mind for the video side as well is like your reels, they don't necessarily need to have like music and sound effects in them. Like when we did our reel last year, we did do that.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at DOP reels or anything like that, it's literally just like the visuals is what matter and the music is just like kind of like Instagram where you just throw on music. Yeah. You want it to be quite lo-fi and like just instrumental.
Well, you could probably spend a lot of time, right? Like choosing music and spending so much time going over and this track and that track.
Like your real portfolio for video, the music necessarily doesn't.
Well, you're not being hired for your music.
You're not doing production on the video. It's the visuals to showcase like, oh, what I've shot.
Your DP
at least from
skills.
a DOP perspective. Yeah. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So basically, don't slack off on your portfolio and.
Well, I just think it's easy to overlook it, and I think it's good to get a second opinion. I think that's what we're taking from this.
Yeah, but your portfolio is different to your social portfolio. Like the things that you're no, hold on.
Okay.
In a way, your portfolio is really something that you would probably send to people, and like specifically.
Yeah.
But then the stuff on social, at least on the video side, you're not going to be making portfolio pieces every single time. So if you're thinking, oh, I can only post portfolio pieces on social, then
you're going to be pretty limited.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you should have like your portfolio where you know that this is what I'm going to use to show people that I can do this work and all that. And then on your social, you can use it to share your portfolio and all that. But it's almost like a little bit of like looser portfolio. Like it's still good work on social, but it's also like, what's the word? It's like evidence, but you also have like your main portfolio, which is like when you are actually speaking with producers on a call and you're like, yeah, here's my deck.
If I meet with a producer or an art director or over email, I'll link them to my website or I'll give them a specific deck, which is a PDF, which has got relevant work. So, you know, I might have an athlete portfolio, which is more sports.
Yeah.
And it's my best kind of sports commercial work and, you know, all that kind of stuff. The way I go about it is my Instagram is mainly my portfolio. It's a bit of a scrapbook, but all the reels I post I remove from the main profile grid. And if you go over to the reels section of my page, there's way scrappier and it's not a portfolio. It's just all my reels that I've uploaded.
Yeah.
But I try and keep my main page somewhat tidy, but there's some carousel posts in there, you know, like, and all that kind of stuff that isn't my work. It's me talking about my journey as a photographer or whatever.
It's like evidence of just like,
but you can still go on my page and see like 80% of it is a portfolio piece and you can straight away get a vibe of the work that I want to do. And that's why I say those 3 pinned photos at the top, it's like bang, straight away, that's the kind of work that Matt shoots and that work will remain pinned at the top of my Instagram page.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Okay, let's move on. Yep. So number 3, so in terms of rookie errors creatives make, number 3 would be not building a strong network early on.
Especially if you're like more of the introverted creative where you're a little bit less wanting to go to social gatherings, like, you know, really reach out and go to those things where you can build those networks and producers. And
do you know what someone actually commented on, You know the the post I did the other day, that was clueless beginner to full-time photographer, and I did it. Well, I did it. I did a section on it, which was my biggest lessons as a photographer, and the first one was being good at the craft is half the battle. Your network is everything. And someone actually commented on it. So here's a real life example. Someone commented on it. Just finding the comment now.
He's scrolling.
There's quite a few comments on this one, which is great. This guy, so love this. I've been trying for years with no network, and now I'm networking. All the doors are opening. Network. So that's just a prime example of some random guy who's found my page. Guy called Jay, or I don't know how to say his name, but anyway, prime example of someone that he's based in America, and he's struggled for years with no networking, and now he is. Doors are opening.
The rules are universal, basically.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, though, like, if you have the skills, you don't have anything to apply the skills to because you've got no work. Whereas if you've got the network, you can still get the work without having the skills, and the skills will eventually catch up. So it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? And it's like, well...
Think of some ways, just off the top of your head, how you can network actively. First thing I want to say straight away is that when you're on set and you're on these shoots, speak to people, get their Instagrams, follow them after the shoot, stay in touch with them, you know?
Yeah.
Reply to
I'd almost say that is the main thing, is staying in touch with them.
Reply to their stories. You can catch up with them. There's times where I'll work with someone on set, get on with them really well, and we'll meet for a coffee. 2 months later, catch up on life. How's work been? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. That's one of the main things, is to check in. I think if you haven't spoken to someone in a couple of weeks or a couple of months or whatever, literally just shoot them a message.
Yeah. And it's those people that you stay in touch with to be like, oh, I've got this project coming up, or, oh, I'm working on this thing. Can you help me out? And it opens doors up.
A lot of those things feel like, oh, what a coincidence. Like, I just messaged you, and then they're like, I actually have a project that is perfect for you. Yeah. You're like, I knew it. I could feel it in my bones.
So that's a great way, an easy way of networking. It's like you're already on set with these people anyway. So, you know, speak to them, build those relationships, follow them on Instagram afterwards. Any other good ways of building a strong network early on?
I think, again, like, it's a little bit more social, like in terms of social media. And if someone has good work that you like, it's almost like appreciating their work and then trying to kind of talk about their work with them. So on social, leave comments, maybe send them DMs, maybe if you shoot similar work in the industry. How did you go about doing this?
How did you go about doing that?
Yeah, like kind of like talking to them about the craft.
Yeah, because if you're passionate about the craft, there's so many people out there you can have conversations with.
Yeah, and a lot of times the best networking is not necessarily networking with clients, it's networking with other creatives that you end up finding clients through that. And if they're at capacity, they pass their clients on to you. And it's just like this thing of don't be friends and network with the clients. Be friends and network with the people that work with the clients.
Now that's a good one.
You're quite good at it though. You're quite good at you'll post an image. So like, again, let's just imagine it's golf again. And then someone who maybe is into golf might comment on it, and you'll actually reach out to them and be like, I don't know who you are, but I can see that you play golf. Will you be interested in shooting or whatever? So you're quite proactive in
I think
turning stuff into an opportunity.
Proactive is a good, I think, word to describe it. It's just being tapped in and switched on, and you know, someone might have liked your post, someone might have commented on it, and just being aware of like who that person is and what they do. And cool, is there an opportunity where we can help each other? Can we get to know each other? Can we work together? Can we collaborate? Again, this industry is just one big collaboration of creative minds coming together. So
the mindset of abundance.
Yeah. So I think just being aware and of what's going on, you know, I think is really important, and being proactive and following up. It's important to follow up and
kind of like showing support.
Yeah. I think spreadsheets are a great way of doing this. So for those, if you're a beginner and you do this, I think you're already getting ahead of the game. Having an Excel spreadsheet with a list of names and what they do, of people that you've worked with, people that you've got on with, people that you've been in touch with, just so you can see them all on a page and be like, oh yeah, I need to touch base with this person, because you forget else, right? You meet so many people in this industry, and it can come and go, and you can just fade and forget people exist. Oh yeah, I work with that person. So having a spreadsheet of names and however you want to go about organizing that, you know, is completely individual. But I think that's a really good way of going about seeing your network on a page and being like, oh yeah, okay, this is my network and these are the people I speak to. the amount of times that I get asked, like, oh, do you know a good sound guy or videographer or BTS photographer or whatever, and you're good because you've got a list of you have a list of names of people.
I have a Notion database, and they're tagged as sound, DOP, editor, and then whenever I need an editor, you can just organize the filters by editor, and it'll show you all those names.
So that's actually a really good thing, because there's times before when I've been asked that, and I'm like, oh, top of my head, I can't remember. But if I had another spreadsheet for all of the people that I knew that did all those roles, that I'm friends with and whatever, because even if you're friends with them, sometimes you can completely forget, because you're trying to think of, oh, right, who are all the editors I know? And then, but you forget, like, so just, I think it's good to have something like that.
Yeah. And it's important as well that a lot of times when you're not getting work, or if people aren't thinking of you, it's genuinely, like, you can even think back to some of your own stuff where, oh, yeah, I haven't worked with that person in a while. And then you look and you go, oh my God, it's been a year. And you just haven't, they've not been at the front of your mind. Or same with producers. Like, producers are just so backed up in terms of, like, they must be communicating with like 1 million people every day. Yeah. And so, again, like that front of mind thing, if you're just checking in with them,
just checking in. Yeah. And speak to people about their projects, what they've been working on. You know, people like to talk about what they've been working on.
But they're passionate to share stuff as well. I remember there was someone...
and if they're not, you'll be able to vibe that they're not, and you just leave them be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, these are social skills. These are soft skills.
They'll tell you what they're working on, though. Like, there's this thing as well in the industry where it's like, maybe people are a little bit cautious about what they're currently working on. But if you're in the industry with them, they tend to go, oh, I'm in Dublin shooting this thing. And then it's like, oh. So that people still like to talk about stuff, even though it's not released. They'll still say, oh, I'm shooting this thing. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Next one. Number 4. Numero 1, 2, 3, 4.
Matt's counting on his fingers.
Quattro. Yeah, I count my fingers. That's what they're for, right? That's why we have fingers, no? Number 4, ignoring the business side, which is a bit of you.
Super brutal mistake.
Yes. Yeah. So that's something that I've been guilty of. That's something I feel like, were very on.
I feel like I was on it and then also went way over onto it. And
yeah, lent a little bit too much onto the business side. But, so ignoring the business side. So, you know, thinking talent alone is enough to succeed. You know, avoiding your invoicing or taxes and business management skills. And for me, straight away, ignoring the business side is the finance side of it. So I've struggled with this in the past where, you know, when I started out, I didn't put enough money aside for my taxes, and I didn't have a pot that automatically put 20% aside, and all these things. So when the tax man comes and you've got to pay a tax bill, and you're like, oh shit, I spent some of my tax money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're holding the new camera that your tax money should have gone.
Yeah. So I think financial hygiene, financial discipline is super important. And the thing that we always preach on this show is have a fucking emergency fund.
Stop banging your arm on the table.
I said that really aggressively. Have an emergency fund. If you can have 3, 4, 5 months worth of wages, maybe 6. 10 grand, right? If you can have 10K set aside or 5K as a buffer, okay? So if that's just sat there, then if you've got a month or 2 months or 3 months where it's really quiet and you've got no work, because it happens in our industry, no matter how successful you are, it can happen. Then you've got a pot of money and a buffer that still allows you to live whilst not having to pull money out of other savings you've got invested, or your tax pot that I've been guilty of in the past, and I'll nip into my tax pot because I didn't have that buffer in place. Do you know what I mean? So having that buffer as a freelancer, I think, is probably the most important thing for your mental sanity.
Yeah.
So you don't lose your freaking marbles with stress because you're like, oh shit, there's no work. I'm having to take money out of my tax pot, but I'm going to have to replace that money. Do you know? And all these things. So I've been guilty of that in the past, and it's something that I can honestly say, since having a buffer pot or an emergency fund or whatever you want to call it in your business account is the number one thing you should be doing. Number uno.
Well, the biggest thing in the creative industry is that in order to make good work, you have to take risks. And in order to get into places and positions where you do get good work, you have to be reckless and get into those positions by any means necessary. You can't be reckless if you don't have like something on the back end to be like, oh, I'm going to be okay if I don't accept this shoot. Or if I tell this client to do one because they're being really bad or something and they want to pay 25 quid. Like, so these things really matter. And the emergency fund is just one element. That's like financial. But in terms of actual, like more of the businessy stuff, I think the processes and having that stuff dialed in. Like, you're a creative, but if you're a freelance creative, you are running a business.
Yeah.
And no matter which way you spin it, I think it's a balance. Like, you need to figure out, okay, I'll spend 80% of my time, 70% of my time doing creative stuff. And then I'll just make sure that my business side of things, like, processes, making sure I have a client dashboard, my email, like Nabil's even just got an email domain. So it says like his company when he's on emails and stuff.
Yeah.
I would say that's like the bare minimum. If you're a freelance, get like that thing. And then everything else can kind of like trickle down, like get your email, and then you can start doing your portfolio. You can start doing your
Speaking of, I actually
like
need to update my email signature.
Yeah, it's like email signature.
Yeah. Do you know a good place to do that?
I actually, not off the top of my head, because the way I've done it in the past is I've used the Google Sheets and I've made my thing there, and then I copy and paste the Google Sheet into the Gmail signature section.
I need to look into it.
Yeah,
I'm sure ChatGPT will be able to help me out with that.
Yeah, yeah. And also there's probably updated YouTube videos.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like being aware of the business side, because that is the thing that's basically the reason why you get paid little or you don't get these opportunities is because someone else they know more business than you, which is why they can look at you and say, I want to pay you 25 quid. So, because they can say that and get away with it because they at least on somewhat know a little bit more about.
Well, it's just business. Well, it's just knowing your like the way you market yourself and the way you put yourself across is going to attract certain types of clients, isn't it? It's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. For myself, like I really live on. I put if you're not following me on Threads, I've been like, I fucking love it. It's great. And I put out recently where I said that the way I like to work is that I work based on principles. I like to work hard and intensely. I like to deliver high quality and deliver fast. But for me to work on your project, I'm going to name my price. And my price is that because that's what I want for it. And I can say that because I understand from a business perspective that you understand the value you bring, and you also understand that they should respect your value. And if they want this, then... And so it aligns you more into like why you make your work in the first place for other people, because really your creative work is yours. Like that's why you create, because it's yours. And for you to do it for other people, there has to be some element of like, well, I need to be aware of why. Yeah. And that's what business knowledge does for you.
And I think also it's really hard, right? Because when you jump into this freelance world, my degree is sport and exercise science. I didn't learn any this other stuff. So when you jump into being a freelancer and being your own boss, it's like, oh, I need to understand like accountancy and finance. Like I need to understand marketing. I need to understand sales, because you're selling yourself now all of a sudden. You need to have like a strategy for that. And
they're
how
all
you do outreach.
Completely
like,
different subcategories.
These are all different roles, and you've got to blow your own trumpet. You've then got to come up with the creative stuff, which is what most of us get into the job for in the first place. You've got all these different hats you have to wear. So it is really hard to kind of navigate that and learn and figure it out, because we all just get into it because we're like, oh, we love just picking up a camera.
I'd like us to outline for the listeners what are like the main things we think as a minimum that you should do business-wise. And so I think just from like purely what you can integrate today is like your email domain. Like make sure that you're emailing from hello@mattpearson.co.uk instead of like at
gmail.com.
Matt Pearson, blah, 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 at gmail.co.uk. Like, get that. And then I think also that goes into your website name as well. So your domain is your website.
Yeah.
I also think
it's not too expensive either. I think I pay like 15 quid. But mattpearson.co.uk, hello@mattpearson.co.uk is my email.
Yeah. And also just start getting, like, as we've already spoke about, your resources together. Like, okay, who do I know in the industry that I can like put down on a list and what they do?
Yeah.
And I think if you can, maybe you don't have to figure out your price, but if you figure out a minimum price that you're willing to work for, because a good thing to have is like minimums for what you're willing to do on a project. So, this project has come in. Well, my minimum is 500 quid. If the project doesn't hit 500 quid, then what else am I getting from that project? And again, a minimum, like, is it in the industry that I want to shoot in, vice versa? So I think there's just minimums for things, and I like that for me, I'd say.
I think it's also figuring out your marketing strategy and how you want to present yourself, like how you're going to be seen, whether that's social,
that's like a lot deeper. That'll take like a few days.
Yeah. So, obviously, all these things we can go into, but the emphasis we're making in the original point is ignoring the business side. Don't ignore that. Maybe that's another episode where we really break down what that business side is and how it looks. Okay, let's move on to number 5, because I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent. Number 5 is poor communication with clients. So whether that's being vague about timelines and expectations.
Yeah, where problems manifest.
Yeah, or not setting boundaries leading to endless like revisions. I think, the way I go about it is before a project starts, this is my fee. This is what usage you're getting for this, and you're getting a day rate and my edits and how many edits. If you want more usage, then it's going to cost extra. If you want more edits, it's going to cost extra. And you're just being really clear on the email about setting out what you're giving them for the price that they're charging.
Yeah.
And just, so if there's any extra stuff that gets added on, you're making it very clear that that's an extra cost. And that can save a lot of headaches down the line when stuff is blurred lines, and you kind of really have to spell it out, in every job. It's like, this is what you're getting, this is exactly what you're getting down to the T, and this is the fee, and anything more than that is going to cost extra, whether that's usage, whether that's deliverables, whatever it is. So just good communication habits like that. Again, being vague about timelines. You commit to a job and you might, lay out all of that information, but then they're like, oh, we need it in 2 days' time. So that's something you haven't discussed. So it's understanding when the timeline is, when they need it by.
And also, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I've had jobs where it's like, I'll charge a rush fee because they also want it same day. So, then that's a different fee, and that's something else that you're, just putting down on paper to let them know that these are the rules and this is how it's going to go. Okay.
That's interesting, because I think it's mainly the same for video. Just off the top of my head, I think it is like we spell out the production days, also like what deliverables they're expected to get.
I feel like revisions are more of a thing in video.
The revisions. Also, in the phases of video, so for example, we picture lock and edit, which basically picture lock is where you don't move on to a color grade or a sound mix until the edit is completely locked in and they can't make any more changes. But then after picture lock, if they want to go back and make an edit, it's like, well, you've got to pay the fee. And it might be, oh, well, it's only this one clip I want to change. Like, it won't take long to color grade it again and sound mix it again. But it's like, yeah, but it doesn't matter because you've exited the picture lock phase. You've gone into color grade and sound, and now you want to make another edit change. It's the principle. And so those things are outlined. And yeah, as you said, you really do have to do it to a T. And even like what the work product is and who owns what. Like, usually, at least on my side, what I usually do, unless it's a producer, actually, let me clarify that. If it's an end client, the product that they're getting is the final deliverable of the video. They're not getting raw footage, they're not getting sound design, they're not getting project files. And what they're paying for, again, similar to a meal at a restaurant, when you pay for a meal at a restaurant, you're getting the final meal. You're not getting the remainder of the pasta sauce in the jar that's still on the kitchen surface. Like, you're not getting any of this extra shit.
Very true.
You're just getting the final video. And that does happen a lot of times. And actually, for videographers that are starting out, you will forget to tell the client that raw footage isn't included. Because typically, clients will go, oh, well, can I have the raw footage then? Because I own that. And it's like, no, you don't. It's like, it's weird. It's
you only own what you agreed with.
Yeah. And so
again, communication.
Yeah, so it's your job to outline word for word. And again, something else that trips people up is that you talk about things on the phone, but then you don't put anything in writing. So what I like to do is, if you have a conversation with someone on the phone, especially for feedback, I will email them after the phone call, and I'll say, this is what we just spoke about, and I'll highlight each bullet point of like what changes they want, and then I'll say like, any change, whatever, and then send it to her. And then that way, what you spoke about on the phone actually exists in physical writing. So like, even if it's just an email.
Yeah.
Otherwise, oh, well, I asked you to do this thing on the phone. And it's like, well, it's your word against mine now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just
always a paper trail.
Yeah.
I can hear Yaz in my ear. Make sure there's a paper trail.
Yeah, Yaz will be on
from
that.
the lawyer. Yeah. Okay,
let's move on. Do you have like extra power? Like, can you always be like, I'll have my lawyer contact you?
Yeah. Technically, she can't represent me because it would be a conflict of interest because she's my partner. So yeah. But
what is the point?
But I would still say it. Yes. My partner's a lawyer, so yeah. Nah, I don't think that holds any power. Anywho. And she also doesn't do law in this area, so kind of irrelevant.
Anyway, Anywho,
number 6, over investing in gear and under investing in skills. Now, didn't we speak about this some at the start of the year, like a few episodes ago? Can't remember, but we spoke about gear and what we would get if we were starting out, right? I think we briefly touched on it then, but it's really easy when you start out thinking like better equipment will fix bad fundamentals. That's not the case at all. I think it's
like that.
Yeah, thanks. I'll take credit for that. I think it's really easy when you're starting out to be like, right, I need the latest camera, I need the best camera, but you can get a great secondhand camera for a fraction of the price. I think I said it on the show. You can get a Sony A7R4 for 1,500 quid. That's what I'd be buying now if I just got into the game. And it's bloody impressive camera with an amazing bit of kit. Technology's phenomenal. But it's way cheaper than the best new camera. But also, you can spend so much more of your time and you're going to get better bang for your buck doing a course on editing or a course on retouching or a course on Photoshop or, how to get the most out of your editing software. It's like Nabil went and did that editing course, didn't he, in a different country?
Oh my God, he went to Poland.
He went to Poland
for like 5 days
for 5 days to do, but I think he learned so much from that. Oh my God,
he came back as an After Effects whiz.
Yeah. And you're going to get then your work levels up so much more.
Yeah.
I think I said it in that post about beginner photographer to thingy and the things I'd learned. And it's like spending time with your editing software is going to give you way more return than the new lens will.
Well, it's the things that affect the other things. So what is the skills or the things to learn that are actually going to have the biggest like return on investment, in a sense of, because you could argue with yourself and go, well, I want to learn how to shoot log and do all this stuff. I'm going to get a more expensive camera that films in a flat profile. But it's like, you're almost like deciding to learn that to give you an excuse to buy the kit.
Yeah.
What you should probably do is figure out how to do your editing software so that no matter what footage you're editing, those skills will apply to that.
Yeah, true. And I think...
And it doesn't have to be software. It can be the fundamentals of
a
composition or whatever.
Because you can spend thousands before you even have steady clients. Like you might not even have a network yet and regular work.
Yeah.
And then you're deciding to drop thousands and thousands on kit. And you might have thousands saved for that, and that's fine. Obviously, everyone can make their own financial choices and decisions. But I'll always hire stuff before I'm like, oh, okay, I need it. So I've been hiring the 70 to 200 a lot, and now I'm like, okay, next paycheck comes in, I'm going to buy that because I've hired it out the last 4 times. Again, for these Hoka campaigns, I keep hiring the 12 to 24 mil G Master, and I'm like, right, keep hiring it. It's a great lens. Other clients are wanting that super wide look. Okay, it's time that I do purchase it because I'm hiring it anyway. So, you can make justified and knowledgeable decisions based on your current behaviors and what you've been hiring a lot. If I keep hiring a Pro Photo Lite and I'm doing it, by the time I've hired it 10 times, I could have bought one. Do you know what I mean? So it's just understanding like what you've got a need for and what you've got a use for, and moving forward with that knowledge and making justified and correct decisions.
Being sensible.
Yeah, being
basically.
sensible. Yeah. So, I think it's easy to overinvest in gear and get super excited. And, there's those gearheads out there. That sounds wrong.
Well, like drugs.
There's those people out there that really love their technology, and you can want the best thing, and you're quite techie. You love you want the latest thing, and you want the latest Mac, and you want the latest this, that.
Yeah,
and that.
like I'm already like, I can't be upgrading my desk setup again.
Yeah,
I've got to, like, it's fine as it is. Like,
so
no.
And it's fine, and people are passionate about those things. But I think I've got by in my career on really minimal kit.
You was on an A7 II.
I was on an A7R2 for the longest time with a like 24 to 70 G Master Mark 1. And that's all I had.
Yeah.
And I look at some of the stuff I've shot and the if there's a big production and I need to execute something, the client will hire in the lens or the camera I need to execute the job. Like, you can get by, like, you really can. And
also, when you are renting gear as well, right? It can just arrive on set before you get it. You don't have to transport it. So when you said about the Pro
around
Photos,
with like 3 Peli cases.
Yeah, because that's one of the worst things is you get more kit and then you're like, oh my God, I have to now put a Peli case on the underground.
Yeah, it was like you when you're transporting your apertures around. It was like just even the thought of having to transport your apertures
One
around.
of the biggest mistakes I ever made was I bought a Peli case 1610, which is a massive Peli case, and I thought, put my apertures in here, put my camera in here, stuff like that. When it came to transporting that shit, bro, I could barely lift the case up.
Yeah.
And then the case was useless because it was like, it's too big for me to ever move it anywhere. So yeah, you need to be careful, man.
It is wild. And also, when customs people see those Peli cases at airports, straight away they're like, what's in there?
Yeah.
You got loads of kits? Because when we were just doing that shoot in Milan, we had to go through customs and you have to fill out the carnets to be like, yeah, we've got over 10 grand's worth of kit. And you have to sit in customs and they check it all and all that kind of stuff, because immediately they see a load of Peli cases and they're like, what's that?
Yeah.
Because they're hard. They're like military looking Peli cases, obviously. So
yeah, there is separate desks as well for media stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, interesting food for thought. Let's move on. This is point number 7.
Is this the last one?
The last one.
Okay.
So I think a lot of us are guilty of this. I think we've spoken about it on the show maybe over a year ago now, but comparing themselves to others too much. So you can get discouraged by social media highlights. You can get discouraged by people seeing other people busy all the time, and which we'll touch on, and then also forgetting that everyone's journey is different. And your journey won't look like mine. Your journey won't look like Cameron's. Our journeys won't look like other people's. It's completely individualistic. And it's really easy to get discouraged by things like social media because you see, oh, that person's working, that person's shooting. You also have to remember that that person might not be shooting and they're just posting, finally getting around to posting all the stuff that they've been working on. And you can throw up a random BTS photo on your story and think, oh, they're on set, but that was from 3 weeks ago.
This reminds me of someone who posts 3D stuff, and she's called Jess Wiseman. And suddenly she's posting all this stuff, and everyone's like, how have you had time to make all this stuff in such a short amount of time? She's like, oh no, I've been doing freelance for 4 years. This is like backlogs. And so we're all there, and her following's growing. She's on like nearly 200K now. And it's like, where, how, why? And all of a sudden it's like, oh no, I've been doing this for like years. And so you need to be careful who the hell you're looking at.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Especially when I see you post something. I don't think you do it regularly, but I've seen you post something, and I'm like, are you shooting today? And you're like, no, that's from last week.
Yeah.
Like,
especially if it's like a reel that goes up, it's obviously it's usually from older content. Like all the reels I make, I'm recycling and using a lot of BTS content that's, or I'll do a shoot and then I'll post something on my story the day after when I've actually got time to sit and curate something for my story and put it up there. So just take social media with a pinch of salt, and also understand that people's work that you're comparing yourselves to are very... like, they've had a different journey. They might have been in the game for 10 years. Their style is theirs because that's what they've come to over after 10 years of figuring it out and testing and getting it right and getting it wrong and getting it right again. And you might have just been doing it for a year. So you can't sit there and look at people's work and be like, oh, why doesn't mine look like that? Or why isn't it good enough? Or why isn't it at this level? And it's so easy to see your work side by side with other people's on social media and be like, why doesn't mine look like that? Use it as motivation to work harder and get better and keep your head down and keep working, but also understand that theirs is that way because that's their life journey and that's who they are, and they might have studied photography at university for 4 years and then assisted a high-end photographer for 3 years and then been doing it for 5 years, and the things that they're exposed to and their childhood and their passions comes into their style as an adult, and they might have loved cartoons as a kid, so that then affects the way they edit, or they might like anime, and that means that they edit in certain colors because that's who they are. The only thing that's ever going to make you stand out is... or
they might just know someone in the industry that's helped them get to...
Yeah, you don't know. So this is what I mean. You can't ever compare, and the thing that's going to make you unique and stand out is your own lived personal experience and the things you've been through. So that's that. Keep making mistakes, keep experimenting, keep pulling on things you love. I love sport, grew up in a sports environment, take a lot of inspiration from sport. So that's why it has such a weighted impact on the work that I put out and what I want to create.
That's a good point. A lot of the things that you see in sports, for example, and why you're good at it is because you was sporty growing up.
Yeah.
And so you naturally just see that stuff. I do wonder, as you're saying it, is there a difference between people, how they use social media? Like if I'm born today and social media already exists, then I might have a harder time, or maybe an easier time, not comparing myself. Whereas we come from sort of a life before social media existed, and so we knew what it was like to have our passions and our art and not know really anybody else other than our close friends that were doing it as well. So I wonder how that impacts people, because people that are getting into photography and video today, they've grown up in a world where content is like everywhere, and I don't know. I wonder how that comparison impacts people in terms of, is it harder to compare yourself, or is it more of a problem to compare yourself? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think just try and keep it super simple. Try not to spend too much time getting absorbed and wrapped up in other people's work. Use it as inspiration, and you can take elements of it. I love the way this person color grades, so I might bring an element of it into my work along with other stuff. And I think it's great to take inspiration, but try not to get too wrapped up. Try and take a step back and give yourself some perspective and understand that that person is in a different path and a different journey. So I'm not going to get worked up about the way, my work looks compared to theirs. Take a step back, focus on your journey and what you're doing, And I think that's all you can do. It's really easy to deep it and kind of go round in circles, and right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just got to keep showing up.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. Like you kind of
fine.
said, basically.
Yeah. Just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, guys, if you've made it this far, thank you very much for listening to this week's episode. We hope you found it useful and we hope you took something from it. If you haven't already, please leave a little 5-star review on Spotify or whatever platform you are. It goes a long way with helping us get seen by new creatives and people. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the newsletter. It's in our Instagram bio.
You can also get a budget calculator from that newsletter.
You can.
So go and do it.
Go and do it. Go and do it.
For free.
And we hope you have an amazing rest of your week, wherever you are in the world and wherever you're listening. And we will see you next week, guys. Take care. Lots of love. Speak soon.
Bye, guys.